Welcome back to Zero Mile ADV, True Beginner's Guide to Adventure Motorcycling. And just to get it out of the way, if you watch my videos, it's a huge help. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the YouTube stuff, super helpful. And in today's video, we got some new mods for the Norden 901. If you saw the title, you know what it is. So let's get them on, let's get them installed, and let's talk about them. All right, we are going to talk about the Mosko Moto Backcountry Pannier kit, initial impressions, getting them installed, why I actually went with soft panniers this time. I've always been a hard panniers guy, and I know everybody that's like a serious off-roader is like, hey, you got to get soft bags because you can break your legs, there's all this dangerous stuff, but I was always like, hard panniers work so much better. So why did I go with the soft ones, even though I was like, I think the hard panniers look so much better? So with that, let's get into it. Okay, so first let's get into the installation. The installation of these was pretty straightforward. Of course, Husqvarna or KTM, they couldn't just, like when they create the Expedition model, they couldn't just give you a standard square rack, because if they gave you a square rack that went with their weird shaped bags, you could put on other bags. Instead, they give you this weird oval shaped rack and you have to get new racks in order to fit different bags. So the one thing that I liked about the Mosko Moto bags, and I actually had a good experience with the Mosko Moto bags because a lot of the guys that I rode the Colorado BDR with were using those bags. Even though we didn't have to carry our luggage, I just saw how much easier it was to like carry your stuff in and out from the van. Those hard panniers, even though they have handles on them, they're so bulky and awkward. They were a pain in the butt, especially the first night, like getting them up to the hotel room. I had to get a cart, totally stupid. Had to just have the soft bags with the handles. It would have been way easier. So that's the first thing. The ironic thing is I didn't actually have to carry the hard bags, and I learned how much the hard bags suck if you're not, even if you're road touring, like getting those things in and out of your room would be a nightmare. So also benefit to the soft bags. I also, another quick note, another side rant before we get into installation, is I always felt that soft bags never really looked that good. And then I saw these bags up close, these backcountry bags on two of the BMW GSs were using them. There were some on the KTM 890s. And actually I was like, they look cool, they look good. I'm definitely gonna go this route on the next bike. So on the Norden we got. So back to installation, of course, with the Norden, I had to get another rack. Luckily, Mosko Moto actually had a rack, so they kind of included it in the deal. So again, how did I end up with these? I've been looking at them. I knew I was probably going to get them. I didn't need them right away, but we went to a really big overland expo in Loveland, Colorado. So on the Front Range of Colorado with some friends that are like building a van. And actually, I thought there was gonna be a lot more adventure motorcycle stuff there. So I need to get out to like the Tour Tech Rally or some of these other expos where there's actually like more adventure bike stuff. This was just pretty much all vans, which is super cool. And like I have a truck that I've kind of built up. So it was like cool to see all that stuff, but there wasn't really a lot of adventure bike stuff. However, Mosko Moto was there and they were offering a pretty deep discount. I think it was like 15% off if you ordered it there. And the bags aren't cheap. So it was actually with the rack and everything, still, it was a pretty good deal. So that's how I ended up with them. Back to installation. The installation on the rack was pretty straightforward. No instructions, which is weird. Like generally most things come with instructions. So like if you're not good at like just figuring things out and making it work and you don't like wrenching, like I have a good friend of mine that mountain bikes and he won't touch anything on his bike. He sends it to a bike mechanic where I like wrenching, I like building bikes. So I was able to figure it out and get it all bolted up. So that wasn't really a problem for me. If you are not good at wrenching and you're not the best, I would probably get a rack from somebody else that they list on the website. So on their website, they do have like different vendors that work with that they know work with their bags. So I would look to see at your bike what rack works, and then hopefully get an instruction set that you can follow to install, because there was no instructions in the box. So it was pretty straightforward. The rack was pretty easy to install. Pulled the other one off. It was literally 2 bolts. The hardest part on the rack was actually the way the rack actually mounts to the underside of the rear foot peg. I actually had to pull the entire exhaust system out, and I no longer had room to fit the carbon fiber cover with the way how far down the bracket set on my exhaust. So I thought that was a bummer because I really liked the look of that carbon fiber cover on the wings titanium exhaust, but I had to take that off in order to fit the rack. So once I got that figured out, pretty straightforward. Again, I just left everything kind of loose, you know, got everything kind of hand tight, and then I put on the rear crossbar and then tightened everything up and squeezed it together. So I've learned from many installations where if you tighten up one side and you tighten up another, you're going to fight somewhere. So kind of leaving it loose and then you know, getting everything hand tight and then kind of tightening it up. That was pretty easy. The next thing on the Mosko Moto bags, so actually installing the bags, they come with essentially a plate system, which I think is pretty cool, which I liked about them, seeing them on my friends' bikes for the Colorado BDR. And they have this like lever you pull out and then the bag slides out, and then you're left with just kind of the plate on there. Now that plate mounts to the bike with these brackets that go around the back, and it has room to adjust so you can fit it on most racks, except for the stupid factory Norden 901 Expedition racks. Come on, Husky, what are you thinking here? I should have just gotten a standard square rack, and you still could have done your weird shaped bags, and it would have looked good, and the bags might have actually been better. Anyways, so with these bags, the one hard thing is it does take like a T10 or like a T15, so it's like an odd shaped torque bit to actually screw it in, which is nice because you don't have to worry about like people stealing it off your bike, like when you just take the bags off. Not that I'm sure anybody would want just the plastic plates, because not many people are carrying like a T15 or a T10. I think it's T15 because it was a little bit bigger than the T10. I think it's a T15. They don't include like even a hand one in the bag. Again, there's no instructions. There were no instructions in there, just some stickers and a receipt, and you kind of had to figure it out. I'm sure if I went to the website, there might be instructions, so I'll leave a note here, like, do they have installation instructions on the website? I'm sure they do, but nothing came in the bags, no QR codes, nothing like that to actually like show you how to run it. However, it was pretty easy to figure out. It was just four brackets, 2, 4, 6, 8 screws. The one problem I did run into is like tightening it down. I did kind of break off the tip of my one of my T10 bits. It was already a little bit torqued from another project, and then I still had enough left, so the one end broke in. So I'm gonna have a problem trying to get this off the rack eventually, because I'm gonna have to drill that little bit out without messing up the screw. And then, anyways, that's a whole other thing. So I was able to get it on pretty relatively easy to get together and nice to get on. I do like and then these came, I got just one auxiliary bag per bag, so I have one per bag. I think there's a nice thing I like about this when I was looking at them at the expo, especially because I could throw like my camelback in there. Like if you saw on the Colorado BDR, I had like my camera back strapped to the back of my bike with my camelback stuck in there. This would be way better because it is a deep pocket that I could actually fit a camelback in. Be much easier to get to, and even on the road sections could even probably easily pull the hose out to get some water and then stuff it back in there. So that was one thing that I really liked about them, and it came with each one. Now the pain in the butt part again about the auxiliary pucks is it screws together with these, like it comes with like a kind of a self-gripping female piece that goes on inside the bag, and then you have to screw this T10 or T15 into it, so it actually screws together, which is nice. So how the bags actually screw together, which is, I mean, it's pretty solid. The only hard part is it's like stretching and moving the bag to get the screws to line up, and then having to reach your hand in there to get them started. They do provide a hole in the middle of the bag to actually get the bolt in there, so you can get a screwdriver in there, which makes it a little easier to tighten. But the initial starting was a little bit of a pain. That was probably the hardest part of the entire installation process. Like even taking the exhaust off and getting that back on was pretty easy. But getting those 5 screws to actually bolt the auxiliary bags to the main bag was probably the hardest part. The last piece is, let's talk about the actual function of the bags. I haven't used them yet, so I can't tell you how great they're going to be. I'm hoping to maybe do section 1 of the Colorado BDR before winter hits, and especially now that it's cooler, it'll be nicer down in the 4 corners. Maybe take a day, go do that section 1, give you a report on that, and I'll take the bags and I'll let you know how that goes. They're both 35 liters, I think is the bag size, so they're pretty decent size. I think about the same size as the hard panniers I had on the Triumph, so that's nice. Decent amount of space, like taking even just like a really big bulky 80, like kind of canvas style ADV jacket and stuffing in there, have a lot of room and a lot of space, so that's nice. They're waterproof inside. You can remove that lining, but I think I would leave the lining regardless, just because if you hit rain or whatever, you don't want your stuff to get all wet. Super easy to take off. Again, it's one latch and it kind of slides off, and then you slide it back on. So now let's talk about the last piece. customer service snafus with Mosko Moto. So this is my first time ordering anything from Mosko Moto. A lot of people rave about them. I think I just had a unique experience for myself personally. When I was at the show, the guy was like, yeah, we don't have anything here, but we'll give you the show discount, and then I'll just place the order for you, and then it'll ship from the warehouse. Okay, cool, no problem. So I went to the show, paid for them there, all good. Got like initial like order confirmation, and then it was just dead silence for like 3 to 4 weeks. And honestly, I'd kind of forgotten about it because I was like, well, they should be coming. And then what made me aware is I was like, I'm about to go out of town, so like I don't want these showing up when I was here. So I emailed Mosko Moto, and the customer service wasn't that great. They're like, well, you did a pre-order, so we don't give shipping times for a pre-order. And I'm like, what's a pre-order? I ordered something that you're actively selling that's on your website, and the guy, your employee at the shop, told me they would just drop ship and I should have them within a couple days, and it's now been 4 weeks and I haven't heard anything. And so like it was a little bit weird. Like they were upset about me emailing asking for a time, and then I was like, okay, it's fine, whatever, not a big deal. I'm not in a rush to get them. I don't necessarily need them. And then they finally did ship when I was out of town. As soon as I got the confirmation email, I'm like, hey, can we hold this or something? I'm now out of town. Can we wait a couple days until I'm home? And they were again like, sorry, it's already gone. There's nothing we can do. So luckily with FedEx, I was able to have them just delivered to a FedEx location, and I picked them when I got home. But I couldn't say that I had the greatest customer service experience. I had expectations set at the expo that then weren't met by the main facility. And then it was like, the customer service was like, well, it's your fault because you should have known it was a pre-order. But I didn't know I was pre-ordering anything, because this was like something that's readily available on the website when we were there, and your guy told me I should have them a week. So a little bit weird there. And I think like as I'm looking at building my own brand, I think really your customer journey and how they experience you, my current staff, I always tell them, like, if somebody comes to you with a problem, so like my help desk, always treat them like as if they were your friend. Like, how would you talk to them? How would you interact with them? How would you help them solve that problem? And really, you want to build relationships with your customers. You want them to feel part of your brand and your organization and your company. And here I just didn't feel that. It was almost like the tone of the conversation, which can be hard. I will put that 100% on me. Again, if you've made it this far, comment, leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff. Leave a comment as to why I'm so stupid, why I'm even complaining about this experience, but I'm just giving you my first impressions of dealing with Mosko Moto for the very first time. Really, I just felt like could have been a little bit of a better customer journey there. The guy at the expo was actually super nice, although I did pick up on one thing. As somebody who's like, my entire focus is people and sales now at my other company, he was like, oh, we've been on the road so long, and kind of like complaining about his work situation a little bit. Like, super nice guy, was like really talkative and friendly, but if your employees are kind of like talking about with your customers, like, what does that mean? So it's just a couple of things that I probably picked up on because I'm in a unique situation, that I'm in a leadership role, and so I'm always very sensitive to these things to see how other employees and other cultures work. And I'm working really, really hard, and I've spent a lot of time to focus on culture. And with 0 Mile, I want to have an amazing culture. So this isn't to say Mosko Moto is a bad company. They're not bad. Their product looks amazing. I'm excited to have these bags. I had a unique experience. Hopefully you don't. I'm sure other people have had amazing experiences. This was just mine. So with that, I'll let you know once I start using them, give you some feedback after about 6 months or so, once I get rain, and if I do this short section 1 and give you an update on that, because we skipped that section when we did the BDR together. I'll let you know how that goes. So until next time, stay safe out there.